So everyone, welcome to Bookaccino Live, our October 11th event. We have so much to share with you. We've got some great titles. We're giving you titles that we think you want to read, but we're also going to give you some that we think that would be ideal for gift giving this year, because we know the holidays are coming up. So there's some titles that are like, you don't usually feature titles like that. And we're going to say yes, but we want you to think about gift giving as well. So here we go. Here are your top picks from September's afternoon presentation. As you might recall, we did two presentations in September. We did one in the afternoon and one in the evening. And the one in the evening had titles like through most of the end of the year. So you're going to see different books coming up here. Okay, so you in the afternoon group wanted to read The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose most of all. Then Mary Kay Andrews' Bright Lights, Big Christmas, which has just been named a CBS book club pick. So we're all really excited about that. That's one of my bets on selections. The Museum of Failures by Thridi Umgar, and that is not only one of my bets on selections, we also have an interview with her. For Paulette Giles, we've got copies of Shenville, actually, that we're going to be giving away as part of the giveaway this week. Astor by Anderson Cooper and Catherine Howe, and Mitch Albom, The Little Liar. So those were your top picks. And then the evening group said The River We Remember, because we went back further with them on titles that we were suggesting, by Ken Kruger. I have something very interesting to share with you about that we're doing with Kent at the end of this presentation. So hold on for that. That's one of my bets on selections. Again, The Mystery The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose. I have this. I cannot wait to read it. Happiness Falls by Angie Kim. We both have it as a bets on, and I interviewed her. Mary Kay Andrews, Bright Lights, Big Christmas. Once again, it was a bets on selection, and I did not interview her, but you can read a lot about the event that we went with her in the newsletter last Friday. Museum of Failures by Thridi Umgar. And once again, we've got an interview with her, and it's a bets on selection. And our latest bets on selection and the interview is with the leftover woman, Jean Kwok. So we've got a lot for you to watch and listen to about the books that we've got that had come out this season. Okay, in answer to our survey question, and this is always fun. I love doing these because we like seeing like how long people have been reading us or watching us or whatever. Let's see if I can put this up here. In answer to our survey question, how long have you been a book reporter reader? You can see there's slight differences between the afternoon and the evening event. Afternoon event, like more people are there from 5 to 10 years. But it's really fun that nobody in the afternoon has never visited us before, but 5% of those attended at night. I feel like this is one of those little math equations when you're in school. Like if the train is leaving the station, it's going here. How long will it take to get? Yeah, this is one of those. But you can just sit there and look and see like, what's happening, and you see where you jump in any of the times. And it's interesting because I think we've been adding a lot of people from our evening events just because we've been doing a very big invite list for those programs. Okay, Sophie Kinsella is one of the authors that I loved through the years. Haven't heard from her in a while. And this is her new book called The Burnout. She can do anything, just not everything. Sounds like I should have that little bit of a quote going under my name. Here's something funny about Sophie Kinsella. For years, my son used to love reading those books, my older son, and he says it really gave him just laughs to sit there and think about all the situations she got herself into. I think it got him to understand what girls were like as well, women. So here we go. So Sasha has had it. She can't bring herself to respond to another inane, urgent email or participate in the corporate employee joyfulness program. Armed with good intentions to drink kale smoothies, try yoga, and find peace. Sounds like my morning. Sasha heads to the seaside resort she loved as a child, but it's off season. The hotel is in dilapidated shambles, and she has to share the beach with only one other occupant, a grumpy guy named Finn, who seems to be as stressed as Sasha. How can she commune with nature when he's sitting on her favorite rock watching her? Nor can they agree on how best to alleviate their burnout. When curious messages seemingly addressed to Sasha and Finn begin to appear on the beach, the two are forced to talk about everything. So, this is going to be one of those rom-com kind of a things. And boy, every once in a while, you just need to escape with one of those. Next, we've got Roman Stories by Jhumpa Lahiri. Roman Stories is her first short story collection since her #1 New York Times bestseller, Unaccustomed Earth. Rome, metropolis and monument, suspended between past and future, multifaceted and metaphysical, is the protagonist, not the setting, of these 9 stories, which have been translated by Knopf editor Todd Portnowitz. These stories are steeped in the moods of Italian master Alberto Moravia and guided in the concluding tale by the Tom would put hard words in, ghost of Dante Alighieri, whose words lead the protagonist toward a new way of life. I feel like after this, we should have a little like, these how all these words were pronounced. Can Carol do them correctly? Not really. I'd like to. Okay. Touch by Walter Mosley. It's on sale this week. Martin just wakes up one morning after what feels like and might actually be a centuries-long sleep with 2 innate pieces of knowledge. Humanity is a virus destined to destroy all existence, and he is the cure. Martin begins slipping into alternative consciousness with new physical strength to violently defend his family, the only Black family in their neighborhood of Hollywood Hills of Los Angeles, against pure evil. Think Octavia Butler meets Jeff Vandermeer meets Jordan Peele, and you've got Touched by Walter Mosley. Next, we've got The 12 Dogs of Christmas, because you know what? The holiday's coming. You're always asking us for holiday books. Here you go, folks. There are a couple in this presentation. This one's by Susan Wiggs, and it's out on October 17th. A year after breaking up with her husband, Brenda Malloy has put her life back together. She's found purpose and healing as a volunteer with a dog rescue operation in Houston. The rescue partners with a program in Avalon, New York, a small snowy town deep in the Catskills. Now Brenda is arranging the transport of rescued dogs from Houston to Avalon. Brenda's friends worry about her driving a van 2,000 miles with 12 dogs in crates, but she shrugs off their concern. I would be concerned. I also would want earphones. However, a blinding snowstorm, an escaped mutt, and a life-saving encounter with Adam Lammy, a single dad and paramedic, means that Brenda has to stay in Avalon longer than she planned. Aha, folks, you know what's coming. As she drops off each precious pup at their new home, some of the comfort and joy of the season begins to creep up on Brenda. And there are those cute little puppies. I think my favorite is the front, the second from the left. Just saying. Next, we've got America Fantastica by Tim O'Ryan. You may know him as the author of The Things They Carried. And a little side note on that book, when we were first founding the company, we wanted to show the people at AOL who were putting us into business, yes, we're that old, that we were really interested in bringing books to them as well. And we brought copies of The Things They Carried down to them, and we gave it to everybody who we were presenting to. So there's our little background on us and Tim O'Brien. This is on sale on October 24th. Boyd Halverson, star journalist turned notorious online disinformation troll, turned JCPenney manager, robs a bank and takes the teller, Angie Bing, as a hostage and for a ride. Haunted by his past and weary of his present, Boyd has one goal before the authorities catch up with him: settle a score with the man who destroyed his life. By Monday, Boyd and Angie reach Mexico. By winter, they are in a lakefront mansion in Minnesota. On their trail are hitmen, jealous lovers, ex-cons, an heiress, a billionaire shipping tycoon, a 3-tour veteran of Iraq, and the ghosts of Boyd's past. Everyone, it seems, except the police. So there you've got America Fantastica. Now we've got Everything Is Not Enough by Loa Ahmadi Akostrom. This is coming on October 24th. The follow-up to a book that she did, I believe it was 2 years ago, called In Every Mirror She's Black. Powerful marketing executive Kemi Adeyemi has finally found the man she needs, but Tobias Wickstrom thinks she is the most selfish woman he has ever met by asking him to give up his life in Sweden and move to the U.S. for her comfort. Former model turned flight attendant Brittany Ray Von London gave up her career and came into nothing into Johnny's kingdom. Having a child with him, her greatest fear for Maya includes being cut off from the resources to which she has become accustomed. After fleeing her house through a client to seek a new life in Sweden, Yasmin finds love in the arms of Yagzik Selik, but someone from her past forces her to become a caretaker before she's ready. Everything Is Not Enough follows loosely intertwined the messy lives of Kemi, Brittany, and Yasmin as they interrogate themes of place, prejudice, and patriarchy in Europe. And Loa is Black, and she said that she has a lot of experience with what it means to be Black in Sweden. Next, we've got Night Side of the River by Jeanette Winterson, coming on October 24th. This delightfully chilling collection, the iconic Jeanette Winterson turns her fearless gaze to the realms of ghosts, interspersing her own encounters with the supernatural alongside hair-raising fictions. Lifting the veil between the living and the dead, Winterson sprints us away to a haunted estate that ensnares a nomadic young couple in its own dark past, a staged, immersive ghost tour gone awry, a West Village seance that threatens the bounds between AI and reality, and a vacation home in the metaverse where a widow sits in and visits an improved version of her deceased husband. Gloriously gothic and unnerving contemporary, Winterson examines grief, revenge, and the myriad ways in which technology can disrupt the boundary between life and death. Very interesting the way we're talking about tech these days. I mean, seriously, and I think this is definitely your Halloween read. It's got historical fiction, starting with Jesmyn Ward. She's the two-time National Book Award winner. She's the author of Sing Unburied Sing, and here she's bringing us Let Us Descend. It's a reimagining of American slavery, a journey from the rice fields of the Carolinas to the slave markets of New Orleans and into the fearsome heart of a Louisiana sugar plantation. Anna, sold south by the white enslaver who fathered her, is the reader's guide through this hellscape. As she struggles through a miles-long march, Anna turns inward, seeking comfort from memories of her mother and stories of her African-American warrior grandmother. Throughout, she opens herself to a world beyond this world, one teeming with spirits of earth and water, of myth and history, spirits who nurture and give, and those who manipulate and take. And I think I might have said this in a previous presentation. When she was writing this book, it was during the pandemic, and she lost her partner in the very early days of the pandemic and was sort of like, all over the place. And when she talked about this book, we could see that there were feelings of grief that are written into this story as she was processing her own grief as she was writing. Next, from Heather Morris, we've got Sisters Under the Rising Sun. In the midst of World War II, an English musician, Nora Chambers, places her 8-year-old daughter, Sally, on a ship leaving Singapore, desperate to keep her safe from the Japanese army. Sister Nesta James, a Welsh-Australian nurse, has enlisted to attend to the Allied troops. But as Singapore falls to the Japanese, she joins the terrified cargo of people, including the heartbroken Nora, crammed aboard the Viner Brook merchant ship. Only 2 days later, they are bombarded from the air off the coast of Indonesia. After surviving a brutal 24 hours in the sea, Nora and Nesta are captured by the Japanese and held in one of their notorious POW camps. These sister-in-arms fight side by side every day, discovering in themselves and each other extraordinary reserves of courage, resourcefulness, and determination. And you probably remember Heather as the author of the best-selling book, The Tattooist of Auschwitz. Next, we've got Absolution, which is coming from Alice McDermott on October 31st. Tricia is a shy newlywed, married to a rising attorney on loan to Navy intelligence. Charlene is a practiced corporate spouse and a mother of 3. In Saigon in 1963, the two women form a wary alliance as they balance the era's mandate to be helpmeets to their ambitious husbands with their own impulse to do good for the people of Vietnam. 60 years later, Charlene's daughter, spurred by an encounter with an aging Vietnam vet, reach out to Tricia, and together they look back at their time in Saigon, taking wry account of that pivotal year and of Charlene's altruistic machinations, and discovering how their own lives as women on the periphery have been shaped and burdened by the same sort of unintended consequences that followed America's tragic interference in Southeast Asia. We've got Absolution. Next, we've got some thrillers and mysteries. We're starting off with a book that came out yesterday. We've already got a review up. It was in our on sale this week newsletter yesterday that came out. Nelson DeMille and Alex DeMille writing together. I actually watched the two of them talking this morning on a Channel 5, I think Fox TV segment about bloodlines and writing together. And they're very funny because Nelson always swore he was not going to have another co-author. He had one earlier in his career. It ruined his friendship with that guy. So we went through, they wanted him to write faster, write a book a year. So they said, bring on a co-author. So he went through many a co-author and wasted, as he says, a lot of time finding nobody who could write the same way that he was looking for. And then he found his son, Alex, who went into this a bit reluctantly, but at the same time now has really found a place in working with Nelson on these books. And this book, as Nelson was telling me the other night when I saw him, is more Alex than him. He had the structural idea of what to do, but Alex is the one that went to Germany, and Alex is the one that really fleshed out the story. So here we've got Army Criminal Investigation Agents Scott Brody and Maggie Taylor. You know them from the last book that they did as well, are tasked with investigating the murder of one of their own. CID Special Agent Harry Vance, an accomplished counterterrorism agent whose body was discovered in a city park in the heart of Berlin's Arab refugee community. The authorities suspect this is an act of Islamic terrorism, but Brody and Taylor soon believe there's more in this case. As they work to discover what the murder victim was doing in the days and weeks preceding his death, they become immersed in the many conflicts and contradictions of modern Germany. I will share here that Nelson said when the kids were little, because Alex is now older, he said that he always took his kids to Europe during the summer. And Alex really fell in love with Berlin and with Germany. So he went to do a lot of the research on this book and actually picked the location for where it would be. Ultimately, Brody and Taylor realized that the murder of Harry Vance was merely a prelude to something much more sinister, a future event, unless they can unravel the mystery in time to stop it. Now, I'm going to share something here. I started reading this book, and what's really interesting is Nelson and Alex are very good writers. Do you know how sometimes you're reading prose on a thrower and it just feels like the words are being churned out? Here, the sentences are constructed well. The story is constructed well. And I'm just leaving you with that because when I saw him the other night, I was talking to him about that because a lot of times I don't feel the craft of writing is employed as much as the craft of plotting is employed, if that makes sense. Next, we've got The Leftover Woman by Jean Kwok. It's a Betson selection, and I've already done an interview with her that's already available. This book came out yesterday. I loved it. I actually interviewed her over the weekend at the Morristown Festival of Books, and we had a wonderful time talking about it there as well. Here we've got Yasmin Yang, arrives in New York City from a rural Chinese village without money or family support. She's fleeing a controlling husband on a desperate search for the daughter who was taken from her at birth. Another female casualty of China's controversial one-child policy, which I didn't realize was in effect for 35 years. But with her husband on her trail, the clock is ticking, and she's forced to make increasingly risky decisions if she ever hopes to be reunited with her daughter. Meanwhile, we've got a publishing executive named Rebecca Whitney, who seems to have it all. She's got a prestigious family name, wealth that comes with it, high-powered career, beautiful home, a handsome husband, and an adopted Chinese daughter she adores. But when the industry scandal threatens to jeopardize not only her job, but also her marriage, her perfect world starts to crumble, and her own role in her family is called into question. Now, this is really interesting as a book about, this child who was brought to America and adopted by a different family. But there's also a really interesting look into publishing. Because Rebecca is a publishing executive, you watch what happens with when a book goes to auction and when a number of people are bidding on it, a number of different publishers are bidding on it, and what happens when there's a bidding war. So there's something as far as like a little inside look at publishing at the same time as an inside look at this woman who's here from China and the other woman who adopted a baby. Next, we've got Veil of Doubt by Sharon Virts. This is out this week as well. I will be interviewing Sharon probably next week at the rate at which I'm going. This book is terrific, as was her first novel. And it's really interesting because this one's more of a mystery. The last one was more just historical. So we've got Emily Lloyd is a young widow in Reconstruction era Virginia. She's accused of poisoning her 3-year-old daughter, Maud. It isn't the first death in her house. Her husband and 3 other children all died of mysterious illnesses. So when Maud succumbs to an unexplained malady, the town suspects foul play. Soon Mrs. Lloyd is charged not only with poisoning her child, but also with murdering her children, her husband, and her aunt. Enter Powell Harrison, a soft-spoken, brilliant attorney who recently returned to his Virginia hometown to help his brother manage their late father's practice. Approached to assist in Lloyd's defense, Harrison initially declines, worried that an infanticide case, might tarnish their family's reputation. But as details about the widow's erratic behavior and reclusive neighbors emerge, Harrison begins to suspect that something even more sinister might lurk beneath the family's horrible trait and finds himself irresistibly drawn to the cause. Yesterday on launch day or pub day, Sharon had a terrific video up because what she has actually done is this is actually built on true historical events. And she puts up the people that, inspired the book, the settings and all these kinds of things. And it was really nice because we're reading this book, picturing modern day and going back. And then you see the picture of where these houses were. You see the pictures of the people. And it really infused a lot more into my enjoyment of the book, though. I was completely enjoying it. This is the one where I went out and sat reading in the hot tub and was on page 60 before I looked up. It's got a real terrific way of writing. Next, we've got The Christmas Guest by Peter Swanson, coming out on October 17th. Ashley Smith, an American art student in London for her junior year, was planning on spending Christmas alone. But a last-minute invitation from fellow student Emma Chapman brings her to Starwood Hall, a country residence of the Chapman family. Ashley is mesmerized by the cozy, firelit house, the large family, and the charming village of Clevemoor, but also by Adam Chapman, Emma's aloof and handsome brother. But Adam is being investigated by the local police over the recent brutal slaying of a girl from the village. And there's a mysterious stranger who haunts the woodland path between Starwood Hall and the local pub. Ashley begins to wonder what kind of story she's actually inhabiting. Over 30 years later, the events of that horrific week are revisited along with a diary from that time. So there you've got The Christmas Guest. Also out on October 17th from John Grisham, we've got The Exchange. If I could see a show of hands of how many of you read The Firm, I bet I'd see a lot of hands going up. So what became of Mitch and Abby McDear after they exposed the crimes of the Memphis law firm Bendini, Lambert, and Locke and fled the country? The answer is in The Exchange, the riveting sequel to The Firm. It's now 15 years later, and Mitch and Abby are living in Manhattan, where Mitch is a partner in the largest law firm in the world. When a mentor in Rome asks him for a favor that will take him far from home, Mitch finds himself at the center of a sinister plot that has worldwide implications and once again endangers his colleagues, friends, and family. So there you've got The Exchange. Next, we've got, we're missing one book here. I just remember, Tom, I think we forgot this one out. There's a book called American Girl that is coming out from Wendy Walker next week. It is actually based on, it's the prose version of an audiobook that she wrote a couple of years ago. And it's absolutely terrific. I don't want people to miss that. So if you could just make a note on your papers about American Girl by Wendy Walker. I want to make sure you do that. I think it's coming out on the 17th. I'm fairly sure. And it's not part of this presentation. It's coming out from Blackstone. So another book for you to consider. Next, we've got Christmas Presents from Lisa Unger. This is coming out on October 24th. Madeline Martin is the young owner of a thriving business, The Next Chapter Bookstore. When Harley Granger, a failed novelist turned true crime podcaster, drifts into her shop in the days before Christmas, he seems intent on digging up events that Madeline would much rather forget. She's the only surviving victim of Evan Handy, the man who was convicted of murdering her best friend, Steph, and is suspected in the disappearance of two sisters, also good friends of Madeline's. Since Evan Hardy went to jail, 3 other young women have gone missing, most recently a young college dropout named Lolly. 5 young women missing in the same area in a decade. Are they connected? Was Evan innocent after all? There's someone else there at night? Someone who is still satisfying his dark appetites. I've heard this is a brisk read for anybody who wants to give somebody a holiday present that is a thriller. Lisa Unger's got you covered. Next, we've got Hercule Poirot's, worked on that one, folks, Silent Night by Sophie Hannah. Pronounce that all morning. Let's do it again. Hercule Poirot and Inspector Edward Catchpole are looking forward to Christmas when they're called upon to investigate the murder of a man in a Norfolk hospital ward. Cynthia Catchpole, Edward's mother, insists that Poirot stay with her in a crumbling mansion by the coast so they can all be together for the festive period while he solves the case. The local constabulary's investigation failed to uncover how someone could have entered the hospital room and killed him under the noses of the staff. Cynthia's friend Arnold is still soon admitted to the same hospital, and his wife is convinced that he will be the next victim, but she refuses to say why. Meanwhile, an utterly ruthless individual has ideas about what ought to happen to Hercule Poirot. So here you go. Here's another holiday book. We're not giving the traditional ones, people. We're cutting outside the lines. Next, we've got The Secret by Lee Child and Andrew Child. Yes, Andrew Child used to be Andrew Grant. Lee Child was Lee Grant. They both changed their names. Andrew is eventually going to completely pick up the series here of the Jack Reacher series. But notice the Lee Child is big, Jack Reacher is second. Andrew and the title of the book are about the same size. Let's see what happens in future years. So this is coming on October 24th. In 1992, all across the United States, respectable, upstanding citizens are showing up dead. These deaths could be accidents, but they don't appear to be connected until a fatal fall from a high floor window attracts some unexpected attention. The attention comes from the Secretary of Defense. All of a sudden, he wants an interagency task force to investigate, and he wants Jack Reacher as the Army's representative. If Reacher gets a result, great. If not, he's a convenient fall guy. And, they're usually trying to get rid of him. But office politics isn't Reacher's thing. Ha, we're surprised. 3 questions quickly emerge. Who's with him? Who's against him? And will justice he dispenses be the official kind or his own kind? Stay tuned to see what happens. And just remember, next year we'll see whose name is in what position on the book. Next, we've got Dirty 30 from Janet Ivanovich coming on October 31st. Stephanie Plum and the plum-colored book, Trenton's hardest working, most underappreciated bounty hunter, is offered a freelance assignment that seems simple enough. Local jeweler Martin Rapner wants her to locate his former security guard, Andy Manley, aka Nutsy, who he is convinced stole a fortune in diamonds out of his safe. Stephanie is also looking for another troubled man, Duncan Dugan, a fugitive from justice, arrested for robbing the same jewelry store on the same day. Body count rises, witnesses start to disappear. It won't be easy for Stephanie to keep herself clean when everyone else is playing dirty. It's a good thing Stephanie isn't afraid of getting a little dirty too. So we've got Dirty 30, the 30th in this series, in case you didn't figure that out. Next, we've got some memoirs, biographies, and nonfiction, and we have a lot this time of year. This is the time of year where a lot of these books come out. And we're going to start with Everything I Learned in a Chinese Restaurant by Curtis Chin. It's coming on October 17th. 1980s Detroit was a volatile place to live, but above the fray stood a safe haven, Chung's Cantonese Cuisine, where anyone from the city's first Black mayor to the local drag queens, from a big-time Hollywood star to elderly Jewish couples, could sit down for a warm, home-cooked meal. Here was where, beneath a bright red awning and surrounded by his multi-generational family, filmmaker and activist Curtis Chin came of age, where he learned to embrace his identity as a gay ABC or American-born Chinese, where he navigated the divided city's spiraling misfortunes, and where he realized just how much he had to offer the world, to his beloved family and to himself. So there, I love that title. And I heard him talk about this book, and it was just so interesting because he was really sitting in the back of the restaurant and all the things he learned and learned. Next, we've got The Sisterhood, The Secret History of Women at the CIA by Liza Mundy. She's the best-selling author of Code Girls. Created in the aftermath of World War II, the CIA relied on women even as it attempted to channel their talents and keep them down. They were unlikely spies, which is exactly what made them perfect for the role, because women were seen as unimportant. Pioneering female intelligence officers moved unnoticed around Bonn, Geneva, and Moscow, stealing secrets from under the noses of their KGB adversaries. Back at headquarters, women built the CIA's critical archives, first by hand, then by computer, and they noticed things that the men at the top didn't see. As the CIA braced for an identity crisis after the Cold War, it was a close-knit network of female analysts who spotted the rising threat of al-Qaeda, though their warnings were repeatedly brushed aside. So there you've got The Sisterhood. It sounds really interesting, especially when you realize that they were seeing something that other people were not. I Must Be Dreaming by Roz Chast. This is a graphic novel, and I am definitely including this because it has been getting tons and tons of attention. She's also the best-selling author of Can't We Talk About Something More Pleasant? So this is coming on October 24th. Ancient Greeks, modern seers, Freud, Jung, neurologists, poets, artists, shamans. Humanity has never ceased trying to decipher one of the strangest, unexpected phenomenon we all experience, dreaming. Now in her new book, Roz illustrates her own dream world, a place that is sometimes creepy, but is always hilarious, accompanied by an illustrated tour through Dream Theory Land, guided by insights from poets, philosophers, and psychoanalysts alike. So, you must be dreaming. We must be having fun with this one. Next, we've got A Memoir of My Former Self by Hilary Mantel. In addition to her celebrated career as a novelist, Hilary Mantel contributed for years to newspapers and journals, unspooling stories from her own life and illuminating the world as she found it. Memoir of My Former Self collects the finest of this writing over 4 decades. Her subjects are wide-ranging, sharply observed, and beautifully rendered. She discusses nationalism and her own sense of belonging, our dream life popping into our conscious life, the many themes that feed into her novels, Revolutionary France, Psychics, Tudor English, and other novelists from Jane Austen to V.S. Naipaul. She writes fearlessly and heartbreakingly about the battles with her health that she endured as a young woman and the stifling years she found herself living in Saudi Arabia. Memoir of My Former Self. Next, we've got The Pioneer Woman Cooks Dinner's Ready by Reed Drummond. I'm bringing this up because A, it's a cookbook time of year. B, this book will probably rise to number 1 immediately on the nonfiction advice chart, because this is one of those books that people are just waiting for. Here we've got 112 fast and fabulous recipes for the slightly impatient home cook. Me. From Reed Drummond, after 17 years of sharing recipes and cookbooks on my website, on my cooking show, I still absolutely love cooking. That said, while I enjoy making a slow-cooked meat sauce or a long-braised pork roast, life is just too busy these days to devote that much time to getting dinner on the table day after day. Heck, if even I don't have time to whip up a complicated recipe for some reason, I don't seem to have the patience. If you find yourself in the same dinner boat, here's a collection of favorable and fast recipes to breathe speedy, new scrumptiousness into your cooking. I think I need this book. Last night we made some Chinese food, and I had chicken, and we didn't have anything green. It was really funny. And like halfway through making this, I was like, what if we poured some pineapple juice in? And we did, and we cooked that down. We don't really have any flavor here, so we threw some chilies in. We still don't have enough flavor going. We thought to put some some ginger in. And the whole time we were lamenting that there's nothing green and we couldn't find anything green. My husband kept pulling out poblano chilies and saying, we should put this in. And I said, wrong nationality, put them away. So it's really fun because there are times where you just want to make dinner quickly and you don't want to make it a whole day production. So I'm ready for this book. That's my little speech. Next, we've got The Woman in Me, Britney Spears. I know you're shocked. Why you have Britney Spears in your presentation, Carol? Come on. You don't know who you're going to give this to as a holiday gift. We want you to be up on all the books that are coming out, and this is going to be a big one next week. And we're probably going to see Britney appearing absolutely nowhere talking about this book from what I hear. But Britney's on page 6 and every other gossip column every day, so she does her own kind of publicity. So here's what we've got. In June 2021, the whole world was listening to Britney Spears as she spoke in open court. The impact of sharing her voice, her truth was undeniable, changed the course of her life and the lives of countless others. The Woman in Me reveals for the first time her incredible journey and the strength at the core of one of the greatest performers in pop music history. Written with remarkable candor and humor, groundbreaking book illuminates the enduring power of music and love and the importance of a woman telling her own story on her own terms at last. I'm sure there was a ghostwriter. Just saying that. But anyway, you probably know someone who might like The Woman in Me. Being Henry, The Fonz and Beyond by Henry Winkler. He was launched into prominence as the Fonz in Happy Days, and he's transcended that role that made him who he is. In this achingly vulnerable memoir, he shares the disheartening truth of his childhood, the difficulties of a life with severe dyslexia, the pressures of a role that takes on a life of its own, and a path forward once your wildest dream seems behind you. Since the glorious days of Happy Days fame, he has endeared himself to a new generation with roles in such adored shows as Arrested Development, Parks and Recreation, and Barry, where he has been revealed as an actor with immense depth and pathos, a departure from the period of his life where he is so distinctively typecast as the Fonz, and that he could hardly find work. He is known as somebody who has written a number of children's books. He's very, very much interested in writing and literature. I know he's a very good friend of Daniel Silva's, And he is one of those people that when he sits down to give an interview, everybody was thinking that the Fonz sees a completely different person coming to life who's not just a character. That was a good one, folks. Okay, Energy Follows Thought, Willie Nelson with David Ritz and Mickey Raphael. This book is coming out October 31st. From his earliest work in the 1950s today, Willie Nelson looks back at the songs that have defined his career, from his days of earning $50 each to his biggest hits. From his less well-known songs, but incredibly meaningful to him, to his concept albums. And along the way, he also shares stories of his guitar trigger, his family, as well as the artists he collaborated with, including Patsy Cline, Waylon Jennings, Ray Charles, Merle Haggard, Ray Price, Dolly Parton, and many others. He's disarmingly honest. What you have to lose when you're about to turn 90, what do you have to lose? Absolutely nothing. Meditating on the nature of songwriting and finding his voice, and the themes he's explored his whole life: relationships, infidelity, love, loss, friendship, life on the road, particular poignant at this juncture of his life, mortality. So there we've got Willie Nelson. Also, I heard Paul Simon say one time that Willie Nelson is a very good poker player. Paul Simon has lost a lot of money to him. They both live in the same area of Texas right now. So I find that very, very amusing. Next, we've got November titles to look forward to. And there are some great ones. We've got The Spy Coast coming from Tess Gerritsen. I heard her talk about this book. She lives up in Maine. And where she lives in Maine, she's noticed that there are a lot of retired CIA agents. She just knows this. And from there, she's kind of sculpted a story about what happens with these people up there. So former spy Mary Bird came to the seaside village of Purity, Maine, eager to put the past behind her after a mission that went tragically wrong. These days, she's living quietly on her chicken farm, still wary of blowback from the events that forced her early retirement. But when a body turns up in Maggie's driveway, she knows it's a message from former foes who haven't forgotten her. Maggie turns to her local circle of old friends, all retirees from the CIA, to help her uncover the truth about who's trying to kill her and why. This Martini Club of former spies may be retired, but they still have a few useful skills that they're eager to use again, if only to spice up their rather sedate new lives. And I'm going to be interviewing Tess about this book, going in a totally different direction for her. I'm looking forward to seeing what she has to say. Next, we've got Breaking Twitter by Ben Resrich. We thought that Elon Musk was the only person who could do this. Elon Musk is the most controversial corporate takeover in history. My favorite right now is people write, when they write, they said, this was said on X, formerly known as Twitter, because I think they feel if they put X in a sentence, people are going to think that they're missing some copy there. It's very funny. So Breaking Twitter takes readers inside the darkly comic battle between one of the most intriguing, polarizing, influential men of our time, Elon Musk, and the company that represents our culture's dearest hope for a shared global conversation. From employee accounts within Twitter headquarters to the mission-driven team Musk surrounded himself with, this is the full story from all sides. Can he miraculously succeed, or will he spectacularly fail? What will that mean to the global town hall that is Twitter? What really is his end goal? And if this guy can figure it out, buy stock. Next, we've got Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. We are including this book because I don't know how many of you have been watching the New York Times list, but Fourth Wing has kind of been dominating the list since it came out over the summer. And everybody said, Fourth Wing, what is this book? It was not on a lot of people's radar. And this is the second book in her Empyrean series. Everyone expected Violet Sorrengail to die during her first year at Bysworth War College, including Violet herself. But threshing was only the first impossible test to weed out the weak-willed, the unworthy, and the unlucky. Now the real training begins, and Violet is already wondering how she'll get through. It's not just that it's grueling and maliciously brutal, or even that it's just designed to stretch the rider's capacity for pain beyond endurance. It's a new vice commandant who has made it his personal mission to teach Violet exactly how powerless she is unless she betrays the man she loves. Okay, so we've got lots of fantasy going on here, and they're riding dragons. So, you've got to go on to something like this. So it's Burn It Down, the Iron Flame. There's a huge following for Rebecca Yarros and her books. If you're not interested, there's probably somebody on your gift giving list that would be thrilled to be receiving a copy of Iron Flame, or even know that you know what Iron Flame is and Fourth Wing. We're keeping you in the loop here. Next is My Name is Barbara by Barbara Streisand. This is just a perfect cover for a Barbara Streisand book. I mean, isn't it just like completely her? She is by any account a living legend, a woman whose career, in a career spanning 6 decades, has excelled in every area of entertainment. She's one of the handful of EGOT winners, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. It's one of the greatest and recognizable voices in the history of popular music. She's been nominated for a Grammy 46 times. With Yentl, she became the first woman to write, produce, direct, and star in a major motion picture. In My Name is Barbara, she tells her own story about her life and extraordinary career, from growing up in Brooklyn to her first star-making appearances in New York nightclubs, to her breakout performance in Funny Girl on stage and winning the Oscar for that performance on film. Then came a long string of successes in every medium in the years that followed. And it is My Name is Barbara. Both Tom and I missed It's Not My Name or New York Name. Next, we've got Small Victories by Joanna Basford. And oh, this is just hearkening back to, remember coloring books? Remember when everyone had a coloring book? Or when everyone had a color in the coloring book? Here we've got Small Victories, a coloring book of little wins and miniature masterpieces. Since we don't often have an afternoon or even an hour to dedicate it to our creative practice, this is a perfect book for when you want to pick up a pencil and complete a coloring page in a single sitting. Colorists will find pages with multiple individual drawings from which they can select a few and color, along with little vignettes and smaller motifs that can be completed in a single coloring session, all featuring Basford's traditional whimsical illustration and flights of fancy. Now, I will tell you that my sister has done something amazing. My sister is an artist. Instead of coloring these in, she beaded all the artwork in 3 different pages for me and framed them. So I have got these 3 beautiful like scenes from one of Joanna's earlier books that are completely beaded works, because why just color when you can bead? So I just been thinking about, boy, if these books had come out during the pandemic, woof, we would have been coloring away. It would have been, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Just wash your hands. You're supposed to wash the groceries and then you're supposed to color. So for anyone you think that might still enjoy coloring, here you go. Next, we've got Day, a novel by Michael Cunningham. And I love the premise of this one. It's coming on November 14th. April 5th, 2019, a cozy brownstone in Brooklyn, the veneer of domestic bliss is beginning to crack. Dan and his young wife, Isabel, are slowly drifting apart, and both, it seems, are a little bit in love with Isabel's younger brother, Robbie. 10-year-old Nathan is taking his first uncertain steps towards independence, while his sister, 5-year-old Violet, does her best to not notice the growing rift between her parents. Let's go to April 5th, not 2020. So the world goes into lockdown. The cozy brownstone is starting to feel more like a prison. Violet is terrified of leaving the windows open, obsessed with keeping her family safe. Isabel and Dan communicate mostly through veiled slights and frustrated sighs. And Robbie is stranded in Iceland, alone in a mountain cabin with nothing but his thoughts and his secret Instagram life for company. April 5th, 2021. Emerging from the worst of the crisis, the family reckons with a new, very different reality and with what they've learned, what they've lost, and how they might go on. There you've got Day, and I love the way he set this up. Next, we've got The Edge from David Baldacci, coming on November 14th. When CIA operative Jetty Silkwell is murdered in rural Maine, government officials have immediate concerns over national security. Her laptop and phone were full of state secrets that, in the wrong hands, endanger the lives of countless operatives. Ex-Ranger Travis Devine spends his time in the military preparing to take on any scenario, so his analytical mind makes him particularly well-suited for complex, high-stakes tasks. Taking down the world's largest financial conspiracy proved his value, and in comparison, his case looks straightforward. Except small towns hold secrets, and Devine finds himself an outsider again. As he gets to know the residents of Putnam, Maine, answers seem to appear and then transform into more questions. There's a long history of secrets and those who will stop at nothing to keep them from being exposed. So we've got The Edge. Next, we've got the unofficial Ted Lasso cookbook. This is for anyone on your holiday list that love Ted Lasso. From biscuits to barbecue, 50 recipes inspired by TV's most lovable football team by Aki Berry and Meg Chano. It's coming on November 14th. Keep calm and carry on. The unofficial Ted Lasso cookbook is here. It's perfect for fans in need of sweet treats to numb the sting of defeat, or those who agree that tea tastes like hot brown water. This collection of recipes will warm your heart and fill your stomach. It features delicious dishes from every corner of the Lassoverse. The Lassoverse, I love that one. Like pigs in Roy's blankie, Ted's bullseye BBQ pulled pork sandwich, Crown and Anchor fish and chips, and of course, biscuits with the boss, along with instructions on how to make your own pink box. With recipes for every occasion, from afternoon tea to AFC Richmond tailgates, plus creative watch party ideas and stories, this cookbook will help you recreate the quirky, high-spirited world of Ted Lasso and welcome its infectious optimism into your own home. Yes, folks, we must keep all of these theories and these prophecies from him in mind, because we definitely want to make sure that, we've got our own cookbook ready to go. Next, we've got a very inconvenient scandal from Jacqueline Michard. You know her as the author of The Deep End of the Ocean, who came out years ago. And I believe that was her first book. That was the first Oprah pick. So we've got Frankie Attleboro returns home to Cape Cod with thrilling news. She's met the love of her life and they're getting married with a baby on the way. That's the moment her widowed father makes his own jaw-dropping announcement. 60, he's getting married too, to Frankie's best friend, Ariel, who's also pregnant and due soon. Oh, is this going to be fun? As Frankie and Ariel struggle to adjust to their new relationship, Ariel's estranged mother, Carlotta, returns after a decade-long absence. She claims to be a changed woman, but is she really, and where's she been all these years? Frankie is suspicious, and as Carlotta's unpredictable behavior intensifies, Frankie must untangle the threads of the past to protect Ariel's future and her own. That's got to be a real trip. Yep, Dad. All right, my friend. Next, we've got The Fiction Writer from Gillian Cantor, coming on November 28th. The once rising literary star Olivia Fitzgerald is down on her luck. Her most recent novel, a retelling of Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca, was a flop. Her boyfriend of 9 years just dumped her, and she's battling a bad case of writer's block. So when her agent calls with a high-paying ghostwriting opportunity, Olivia is all too willing to sign that NDA. First, the write-for-hire job seems too good to be true. All she has to do is interview Henry Asherwood, the reclusive, mega billionaire, twice named People's Sexiest Man Alive, who wants her help in writing a book that reveals a shocking secret about his late grandmother and Daphne du Maurier. But when Olivia arrives at his Malibu estate, you got it, guys. Here's the line that you hear all the time in thrillers: nothing is as it seems. And the tagline here is, can she rewrite the fate of the women who came before her? Dun, dun, dun. Next, we've got The Watchmaker's Hand, coming from Jeffrey Deaver on November 28th. When a New York City construction crane mysteriously collapses, causing mass destruction and injury, forensic criminalist Lincoln Rhyme and his detective Amelia Sachs are on the case. A political group claims responsibility for the sabotage and threatens another attack in 24 hours unless demands are met. And then a clue reveals to Rhyme that his nemesis, known as the Watchmaker, has come to town to fulfill his promise of murdering the criminalist. Now, Rhyme and Sachs have to dodge his brilliant scheme to destroy them both while racing against time to stop the construction site terrorists. With New York in a panic, Rhyme and his team must unravel the handful of plots as tightly wound as a timepiece. It's a great line, folks. Before more cranes fall, raining down death and destruction from above. Next, we've got some previously featured November titles. Start with Class, Memoir of Motherhood, Hunger, and Higher Education by Stephanie Land. Actually, was the first person to interview Stephanie about her memoir, Made. And back then, believe me, she never could imagine what was to come. It's picked by Barack Obama as one of the best books of 2019. It's called An Eye-Opening Journey into the Lives of the Working Poor. And yes, it was adapted to the hit series on Netflix, Made. It's a story about a house cleaner, but also a story about a woman with a dream. In Class, Land takes us with her as she finishes college and pursues her writing career, facing barriers at every turn, including a Byzantine loan system, not having enough money for food, navigating the judgments of professors and fellow students who don't understand the demands of attending college while under the poverty line. She finds a way to survive once again. Paints an intimate and heartbreaking portrait of marriage as it converges and often conflicts with personal desire and professional ambition. Next, from Gilly Macmillan, we've got The Manor House. Be careful what you wish for. Childhood sweethearts Nicole and Tom are a normal living couple until a massive lottery win changes their lives overnight. Soon they've moved into a custom-built, state-of-the-art glass barn on the stunning grounds of Longcourt Manor in Gloucestershire. They have fancy cars, expensive hobbies, an exclusive lifestyle they never could have imagined. But this dream world quickly turns into a nightmare when Tom is found dead in the swimming pool. Was it a tragic accident or something worse? Yes, you do be careful what you wish for. So we've got Resurrection Walk, a Lincoln lawyer novel from Michael Connolly. It's going to be a fun one because it's going to put two of his big characters together. That defense attorney, Mickey Howard, is back taking long shot cases where the chances of winning are 1 in a million. After getting wrongfully convicted man out of prison, he's inundated with pleas from incarcerated people claiming innocence. He enlists his half-brother, retired LAPD Harry Bosch, to weed through the letters, knowing most claims will be false. Bosch pulls a needle from a haystack, a woman in prison for killing her husband, a sheriff's deputy, but still maintains her innocence. Bosch quickly reviews the case and sees elements that don't add up. The sheriff's department intent on bringing quick justice in the killing of one of its own. Now Howard has an uphill battle in court. The path for both lawyer and investigator is fraught with danger from those who don't want the case reopened and will stop at nothing to keep the Howard-Bosch dream team from finding out the truth. So I really love this. If you're watching the Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix, and if you're watching the Harry Bosch show on, it originally started on Amazon Prime and now it's on Freevee. I think it's kicking off again on the 20th. You can immediately see how much fun it would be to have these two characters together. Besides reading the books, it's fun that you also saw the shows and saw the people. Next, we've got The Wishing Bridge from Viola Shipman coming on November 7th. One of the hottest mergers and acquisitions executive in the country, Henrietta Wegner can see the ambitious and impossibly young up-and-comers gunning for her job. Henry's boss makes it clear that she'll be starting out New Year unemployed unless she can close a big deal before the holidays. She impulsively tells him that she can convince her aging parents to sell Wegner's, their iconic Christmas store, to a massive, soulless corporation. Home for the holidays has been a perfunctory 24-hour visit for Henry before driving back to Detroit. So showing up the Wegner offices in early December raises some eyebrows, from her delighted if puzzled parents to her suspicious brother and curious childhood friends. But as Henry feeds impatient texts from her boss while reconnecting with the magic of the store and warmth of her hometown, what sounded great in the boardroom begins to lose its luster in real life. Wishing Bridge. Next, we've got Mitch Albom, The Little Liar, coming on November 14th. 11-year-old Nico Crispus never told a lie. The Nazis invade his home in Salonika, Greece. The trustworthy boy is discovered by a German officer who gives him a chance to save his family. All he has to do is convince his fellow Jewish residents to board trains heading to new homes, where they're promised jobs and safety. Unaware this is all a cruel ruse, the innocent boy goes to the station platform every day and reassures passengers that the journey is safe. When the final train is at the station, he sees his family being loaded into a big boxcar, crowded with their other neighbors. And only after it's too late, Nico discovers that he helped send the people he loved and all the others to their doom at Auschwitz. And then Nico never tells the truth again. There's The Little Liar. Next, we've got The Mystery Guest, the book that you're looking forward to on both lists. Molly Gray is not like anyone else with her flair for cleaning and proper etiquette. She's risen through the ranks of the glorious 5-star Regency Grand Hotel to become the esteemed head maid. But just as her life reaches the pinnacle state of perfection, her world is turned upside down when J.D. Grimthorpe, the world-renowned mystery author, drops dead on the hotel's tea room floor. When Detective Stark, Molly's old foe, investigates the author's unexpected demise, it becomes clear that this death was murder most foul. Suspects abound, and everybody wants to know who killed J.D. Grimthorpe. As a high-profile death threatens the hotel's pristine, and you know that's a great Molly word, pristine reputation, Molly knows that she alone owns the key to unlocking the killer's identity. That key is buried deep in her past, as long ago she knew J.D. Grimthorpe. So there you go. From the author of The Maid, we've got The Mystery Guest. Here's some December titles to look forward to. Yes, we told you there was going to be a lot this time. Got The Frozen River from Ariel Warnhorn, which is coming on December 5th. In Maine in 1789, the Kennebec River freezes, entombing a man in the ice. Martha Ballard is summoned to examine the body and determine the cause of death. As the local midwife and healer, Martha is good at keeping secrets. Her diary is a record of every birth and death, every murder and debacle that unfolds in the town of Hallowell. In that diary, she's also documented the details of an alleged rape that occurred 4 months earlier. Now one of the men accused of that heinous act has been found dead on the ice. While she is certain that she knows what happened on the night of the assault, she suspects that one of the two crimes are linked, and there are more to both cases than meets the eye. Over the course of one hard, long winter, as the trial nears and whispers and prejudices mount, Martha's diary lands at the center of the scandal and threatens to tear both her family and her community apart. She's also the author of I Was Anastasia. So we got The Lost Tomb from Douglas Preston on December 5th. His journalistic explorations have taken him from the haunted country of Italy to the jungles of Honduras. He was granted exclusive journalistic access to the largest tomb in Egypt's Valley of the Kings, broke the story of the extraordinary mass grave of animals killed by the asteroid impact that landed during the Cretaceous period and caused the extinction of the dinosaurs, and explored what lay hidden in the booby-trapped money pit on Oak Island. The Lost Tomb brings together an astonishing and compelling collection of true stories about buried treasure, enigmatic murders, lost tombs, bizarre crimes, and other fantasy tales of the present and the past. And we've got The Other Mothers from Catherine Faulkner. I loved her first book, and I'm looking forward to this one. The last one was Greenwich Park. When a young nanny is found dead under mysterious circumstances, a new mom, Tash, is intrigued. She's been searching for a story to launch her career as a freelance journalist. She's also been searching for something else, new friends to help her navigate motherhood. As she sees them in her son's new playgroup, The Other Mothers, a group of sleek, sophisticated women, sort of women Tash herself would like to be. When the mothers welcome her into their circle, she discovers the kind of life she always dreamt of. Their elegant London townhouses are a far cry from her cramped basement flat and endless bills. She's quickly swept up into their wealthy world by coffees, cocktails, and playdates. But when another young woman is found dead, it's clear that there's much more to the community than meets the eye. Are these women really her friends, or is there another, more dangerous reason why she has become so quickly accepted into their exclusive world? Here's some notable paperback releases. The hero of this book by Elizabeth McCracken, John Irving's The Last Chairlift, Steve Berry, The Last Kingdom, Liberation Day by George Saunders, and Then There Was Light by John Meacham, and Signal Fires by Danny Shapiro. Also, Signal Fires is our What's Your Book Group Reading This Month contest. If you go out to Reading Group Guys right now and look for What's Your Book Group Reading on the page, if you go in there and tell us what your book group is reading this month, you can be eligible to win one of 3 sets of 12 copies of Signal Fires by Danny. Upcoming book screen to Adaptations this Friday. I am certainly looking forward to the launch of Lessons in Chemistry on Apple TV+. I already have tickets to see Killers of the Flower Moon the night it comes out on October 20th in theaters. November 1st on Hulu, we've got Black Cake, got All the Light We Cannot See on November 2nd on Netflix. And I was lucky enough to see the first of the 4 episodes. It's terrific. And we've got the same director directing all 4. Very interesting to see how they're working through the arc of the story. The Marsh King's Daughter is going to be a limited release on November 3rd in theaters. And The Boys in the Boat will be on wide release December 25th in theaters. I'm up to 36 right now, bets on selections so far. Don't know how many more I'm get to because there are a lot of more books that I've got to read. There's no more floating in the pool to do this. Here are the recent YouTube interviews that we've done. Leftover Woman, Museum of Flowers, Failures with Freddie Umgar, The Whispers with Ashley Adrain, which was terrific, and I'm sorry I missed it when it came out in June. Turning Pages, John Sargent was the CEO of Macmillan Publishers, and it's interesting about his life growing up in a one-room schoolhouse in Wyoming to becoming the CEO of Macmillan, one of the big 5 publishers, and then the day he lost his job. Gone Tonight by Sarah Pekkanen and Happiness Falls with Angie Kim. All were terrific to talk to. Okay, we're going to do something really special, which we're just announcing now for next Wednesday. A special Book Reporter Talks To program in the afternoon. William Kent Kruger will discuss the River We Remember and answer questions submitted by the winners of our recent contest. As you know, we ran a contest recently, and where people win the copies of The River We Remember. And from there, we're asked to submit not only comments about the book, which we published on the site, but also their questions. Some of the people will be joining us live. Other the people will be joining us with me asking their questions, but we're also asking our virtual audience to be part of this presentation as well. While you will not be able to ask questions as well, it will be a very fun experience to be able to participate in Kent talking about this book that is just getting so much acclaim from so many people. Yesterday, it was announced that it was one of B&M's top mysteries of the year. So the accolades just keep coming in for this title. It seems like it's one a week these days. Next, on Bookaccino live event on October 25th, we're going to be featuring Jodi Picoult and Jennifer Finney Boylan as they discuss Bad Honey, which is a GMA book club selection and a Book Reporter Bets On pick, now out in paperback. So it's Wednesday, October 25th at 8 p.m. Signups available on Book Reporter Reading Group guides, as it is for the Kent's event as well. And our next Bookaccino Live preview event will be held on Wednesday, November 8th. This will be our last event of the year for Bookaccino Live. We have a couple other things we've got cooking for you. There's 2 more events at least that we'll be doing in the evenings, but this will be the last one because there's not a lot coming out in November and December. And we're going to do a peek ahead at January and February. And we are getting notes every day about terrific books coming in January and February. So you definitely want to stay tuned and be part of this one. So we thank you all for joining us for Bookaccino Live. It has been such a pleasure doing this as always. And we look forward to seeing you next month as well.